It is exactly 10 days before we get to Christmas, which is the most anticipated holiday season in the calendar. My name is Wilson Buru, and this is certainly KTN Prime. We'll, of course, be talking about security matters. There is that siege in Sydney that happened today. We'll be talking about that and much more. Welcome to KTN Prime. Let's look at the highlights.
Moved in, we could see them in
lessons from the Sydney siege.
I'd really urge Parliament to do their job as one of the institutions in this country safeguarding the Constitution, so that we don't fight or we don't go to court.
And the media proposes amendments to the Security Laws Amendment Bill. Also coming up, ODM primaries disrupted in Homa Bay. And Ugandan maid is jailed for child assault. You are certainly tuned into the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. Now, as Kenya grapples with the security crisis and coming only about 1 year after the Westgate siege that led to the death of 67 people, the Sydney siege provoked memories of the shocking incident and revived questions of the capacity and capability of our security operators. Well, tonight, the Sydney siege is finally over with 2 people reported dead and 3 others in serious condition. CNN reports that it is believed that one of those who are dead is the gunman who held hostages for over 16 hours at a Sydney cafe. The gunman had been identified as an Iranian refugee called Man Haron Moniz. He is believed to have been acting alone. An additional US law enforcement and intelligence sources said in what appeared to be a dramatic ending to the hostage situation. Police could be seen throwing flashbang grenades into the cafe. It is unclear how many hostages were in that building at the time. And though miles away, the 16-hour standoff between the Australian police and one gunman presents great lessons for Kenya in her anti-terrorism war. But where exactly can Kenya borrow a leaf from Sydney? KTN's Asha Mulu breaks it down for us.
Told for surveillance that there were 2 gunmen in there.
A gunman, an unknown number of hostages, and live media coverage.
Prime Minister's office to try and get some direction.
A complete recipe for disaster for security responders in Sydney.
Police are being tested, the public is being tested, but whatever the test, we will face it head on.
As the world observed Australian authorities battling to contain the situation, back in Kenya, the lessons were distinct.
I think there was a lesson in terms of how the whole society can come together. In fact, that one includes the media, the government, the response from the security side. There is a lot to be learned from the Sydney thing.
While the gunman demanded for an ISIS flag and a phone conversation with the Australian Prime Minister, the negotiators kept their cards close to their chests. First to address the nation was the Australian Prime Minister, whose statement came early in the morning, just as the siege had begun.
I can understand the concerns and anxieties of the Australian people at a time like this, but our thoughts and prayers must above all go out to the individuals who are caught up in this.
While the hostage situation lasted more than 16 hours, Australian police stayed put and were ready to receive the hostages that had managed to escape.
The first thing they did is to seal off the area. And in sealing off the area, they were trying to make sure that no suspect from that scene escapes. 2, they were also trying to create an opportunity for those who could have made it to escape, to try as much as possible to reduce the number of hostages who are inside, so that they also reduce the bargaining power.
While covering the siege, the Australian media delayed their live feed by at least 3 minutes. Left in the dark, the gunman's options gradually decreased.
If you look at the media in Sydney, it is a media that it well regulates itself, unlike the media that we have here, which has been left loose. And you see, when you leave a media loose and the competition for money, then they are bound to highlight some of the news that we normally see in the newspapers, because there is that competition.
On the flip side, the Australian authorities kept the media on the loop and gave solid statements with key information to help residents still stranded in central Sydney.
Transport arrangements, as the Premier has indicated, have been put into place, and we need to make sure that people can get in and out of the city. The city is still operating and will continue to operate until we need to change that.
Where speculation was rife, the police commissioner was quick to silence them.
We've got a lot of people that are out there concerned when they see a police vehicle drive down their street to think that their suburb or their shire might be involved. That's not the case.
The first starting point is always to make sure that we satisfy the thirst of the media for information. Because the moment they don't get the right information and accurate information, they will start speculating.
As terror groups and lone wolves borrow terrorism strategies, experts like Richard Tuta say it's high time the international community borrows lessons and strategies. Ashamwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
Now from Sydney, Australia, let's stick with security matters, and media practitioners have now raised the opposition to the Security Laws Amendment Bill, arguing that the bill will curtail freedom of the press and negate gains made so far in the fight for freedom of the press. Media Owners Association Chairman Sam Shalay, who is also the Standard Group CEO, says media practitioners will present the proposed changes to several clauses affecting the media, aimed at safeguarding media freedom before the bill, which has passed the second reading, is debated by the National Assembly on Thursday.
From the opposition, civil society to a section of religious leaders, the Security Laws Amendment Bill has been met with opposition.
We will resist any attempt to roll back the democratic gains, the civil liberties.
The bill seeks to improve the capacity of security agencies in the fight against terror. But for the media, the raft of proposals will have more to do with the fight against media freedom.
We have serious issues of contention that we believe will affect the practice of journalism and the freedom of the press here in Kenya.
Some of the provisions in the proposed bill are offensive to freedom of expression in an effort or an affront to media freedom in Kenya.
If passed, media houses will have to seek consent from the National Police Service before broadcasting any material from a terror scene seen to undermine investigations or a security operation. Publication of public opinion will be criminalized, and so will the publishing of photographs and video of terror victims without the approval of the National Police Service. And even a reporter's notebook could land them in trouble.
Any working notes, right, which in the eyes of security are considered as a contradiction to this provision, then you'll be liable for the penalties which apply to this section.
Media practitioners argue they already have a code of conduct and self-regulation that guards against the publication and broadcast of material considered gory.
But they are talking about the pictures that they feel that they should not, we should not use in the newspapers. Then let us channel these complaints to the Media Council.
They have now come up with proposed changes to the bill, which they want the National Assembly, which is set to debate the bill on Thursday, to consider before passing it.
Really urge Parliament to do their job as one of the institutions in this country safeguarding the Constitution, so that we don't fight or we don't go to court on an issue that we all agree we should deal with.
Provisions on the media in the bill, practitioners say, go against President Uhuru Kenyatta's own pledge.
We will be at the forefront in fighting any form of gagging the media, harassing of journalists, constraining media space.
It has been a long road for media freedom in the country, with significant gains that media practitioners fear could go down the drain if the bill is passed. Rita Tinina, KTN.
From security, let's now move to politics and party politics, to be precise. The Orange Democratic Movement has summoned Homa Bay senatorial aspirants for a meeting in Nairobi tomorrow. This follows the chaos witnessed in Homa Bay during the aborted party preliminaries. Our reporter Victor Ogale has been in Homa Bay and he gives us this report.
It was business as usual for many Homa Bay residents. Others, however, opted to uphold the party policy of nominating a candidate for the forthcoming senatorial by-election. All was well until 11 a.m. Some delegates were not happy. Apparently, some constituencies were missing from the list.
Leo wapigi kura, and we are demanding election board walete list, every constituency wanajua vile walichaguliwa. That is my word. But the problem we are having, some MPs went and sat down, brought their people, and we will not accept.
Soon after, ODM officials on the ground called off the exercise. The aspirants had sought refuge inside the Homa Bay County Assembly buildings, and one by one they left the premises in protest. Former ODM National Electoral Board Chairman Philip Okundi was the first to condemn the incident.
The only thing that I think needed to be really streamlined is this allowing room for complaints to arise before we do elections, that the lists are different.
And even up to yesterday, I cautioned the board that there is a plan to stop, to cause chaos, create confusion, and stop the exercise from being done.
The delegates of the party we are talking about were delegates from 2008. And really from that time, so many delegates died. New constituencies have been created. A constituency like Homa Bay Town constituency has no delegates.
That is something that the party must think very, very seriously about. The party must listen to what the persons who are the voters on the ground are saying.
Hilary Alila, who was also to seek an ODM nomination ticket, has opted to contest in the by-election as an independent candidate. An exercise that began peacefully early in the morning here at the Homa Bay County Assembly ended up in total shambles, leaving the delegates with no clear indication as to whether this exercise will be repeated again or as to whether the ODM party is going to issue a particular candidate with a certificate. Victor Ogale, KTN, in the county of Homa Bay.
That situation unfolding in ODM is the basis of our big question tonight, and we're asking you, should the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, give extra time to ODM to resolve its nomination crisis in Homa Bay? Should the IEBC give extra time to ODM to resolve its nomination crisis in Homa Bay? You can, of course, get in touch with me at KTN Kenya, at Wilson_Mburu on Twitter, or you can send an SMS to the number 22155. I'll, of course, sample some of your views as the bulletin continues and give you a poll result at the tail end of this live newscast. Is it too little? Well, that's the question in most people's minds tonight, as the Ugandan maid who was captured by a hidden camera torturing an 18-month-old baby spends her first night in jail. A Kampala court sentenced her to 4 years in jail. Reports of that sentence have raised mixed reactions in Uganda and around the world.
22-year-old Jolie Tuhurumwe walks to a courtroom in Kampala, hardly any emotion on her face. A face that had made headlines over the past 1 month when she was captured by a hidden camera torturing an 18-month-old baby. The video went viral and shook the world.
Our prison is advised to watch over your behavior.
Even as the verdict was read, she was ready to face the consequences of her actions. As she had pleaded guilty, apologizing to the child's parents and the public in general. She, however, claimed that she had been mistreated by the child's mother earlier that morning and was still upset at the time when she was seen beating the child.
So that you can come out as a family person.
And the verdict was out. The next 4 years will see Jolly behind bars.
Initially, people thought it was a lie or it was not true, but we are happy that she accepted the crime, though she did lie about us torturing her, which has never been the case. But, you know, at the end of the day, we hope this has set an example.
The incident had sparked outrage even here in Kenya, and on the streets of Nairobi, the verdict received varying reactions.
4 years in jail is a lot of years. It's like 40 years. So I think it is just fair.
Asentenziwe for death. Juu vile kulingana vile alifanyia ule mtoto, alimfanya vibaya na mtoto mdogo. Na si kuona good reason ya kumfanyia hivyo.
It may not be enough, but at least justice has taken its course.
Child support services have since warned parents to be cautious with the persons entrusted to take care of their children at home. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Let's move on. Now, the widow of the late Cabinet Minister Mbiuko Inange, Eda Wanjiru, and her stepson David Njuno have been acquitted of murder charges by the Nakuru court. The two had been accused in the murder case of slain Maasai lands activist Moses Olempoe. KTN's Rachel Menza reports from Nakuru.
Lady Justice Janet Mulwa, who delivered the judgment on behalf of Justice Helen Omondi, set Eda Wanjiru and her stepson David Njuno free, along with 5 other accused. She said this was due to insufficient evidence. Justice Mulwa said the charges were based on mere suspicions and that the case also had numerous loopholes that the prosecution failed to seal.
And our argument from the beginning was that the murder was stage managed so that the 5th and the 6th accused persons would be put in jail so that the issue of the land which they had been refusing to sell would be sold to whoever was supposed to buy it.
I can say we are very thankful. We have seen justice.
But even as one family rejoiced after the judgment, emotions ran high among members of Mpoe's family, claiming to have been denied justice.
Mimi ndio eyewitness. Nimeidentify mwenye alituua. Kwa maana mimi nilipona tu kimungu. Nikaona kabisa na nikasema. Na nikaidentify kwa kotini nikasema ni huyu. Hata justice hatujasikia hata ikisomwa hata kidogo.
If it is suspicion, now who killed Moses? Let us answer as the family. It is the government of Kenya who killed my dad. This is the issue of the government. Judiciary is we cannot even, there is no need we come to the courts. Judiciary is, this is just but a house. There's nothing in judiciary in Kenya.
The 3-year-long case was prompted by the shooting of former Maasai land activist Moses Olempoe and a wheat farmer Parsaia Olekitu. A lone gunman opened fire at the two at Soilo Junction on the Nakuru-Eldoret Highway in December 2010.
Na tunaomba kabisa serikali ingilie kati kwa maana sasa sisi tuko hatarini. Tulikuwa tumeappoint watu kweli imetuua na bado tuko adui, bado ile shamba iko tunangangania. Bado mimi na mambo bado iko.
The murder has been linked to a dispute over the 4,200-acre controversial Mudera farm in Mauna Rock. The farm, owned by the family of the late Mbiuko Inange, has been embroiled in a protracted ownership dispute. Over the years, tension has been high at the expansive farm over its management. Prior to his death, Mpoe worked as a farm manager at the farm and opposed plans to sell the land to the government for the resettlement of IDPs. From the judgment, however, the lawyers now want the office of the DPP to further investigate the murder of Mpoe and his colleague. Kamche Menza, KTN, from Nakuru County.
Well, it's Monday night, so you know that your weekly crime investigation series, Case Files, comes immediately after this bulletin. Now, in tonight's episode, Dennis Onsarigo investigates the mysterious death of the 2008 Olympic marathon champion Samuel Kamau Wanjiru. Did he commit suicide, Or was he pushed to his death from the balcony of his house in Nyahururu town? Here's a preview of tonight's show that comes to you immediately after this news bulletin.
Nilikuwa hapa nikapigiwa simu na Joga saa 6 usiku, akaniambia mama, amka uombee kama ameanguka.
I know I lost a brother. Kuna kitu imepatikana yake. Mpaka hizo nguo hatujui kwenye ziliendanga.
Bleeding from the mouth and nose.
That one you certainly do not want to miss, and it comes up immediately after this bulletin. After which, by the way, Kiss Files takes a break until next year. This is after running for 24 consecutive weeks. That is coming up right after this bulletin. Now, let's remind you of our big question tonight. And tonight we are asking you, it is about this ODM saga. Should the IEBC give extra time to ODM to resolve its nomination crisis in Homa Bay? Should the IEBC give extra time to ODM to resolve its nomination crisis in Homa Bay? Remember that you can get in touch with me at Wilson_Mburu on Twitter. You can get in touch with me via SMS 22155. And I'll, of course, sample some of your views as this bulletin continues and give you a poll result at the very tail end of this live newscast. Let me just take a few tweets here. Abud Onyango says, ODM have their preference. They did this to give room to handpick. This is a shame to democracy. Mwangi Paul Kenyo here says, it doesn't matter how long they get, men in black will still show up. Talk of democracy, selection, ODM way. Those are some of your views. Continue getting in touch with us at KTN Kenya, at Wilson_Mburu. Hashtag BQ. Just ahead, innovation and patenting on KTN Job Center.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Monday night also means that you've got Job Center coming your way, and Abby Agina now joins us from our business studio. Abby, it is a very interesting discussion tonight, all about protecting your creativity, isn't it?
Definitely, Wilson. We'll be talking to a young entrepreneur who has established a business, and he'll be telling us what it takes to register these innovations, and also he'll be telling us how he started. Well, good evening and welcome once again to Job Center. Today we'll be talking about the innovations and also getting the perspectives when it comes to registering a business. Welcome, Kelvin Masharia.
Thank you very much.
So, Kelvin, just to start us off, tell us about your business, what you do, and also we'll move on forward for you to tell us what should young people look out for when they want to register their innovations.
My business name is Sunrise Tracking. This is a company that deals with security solutions. These are solutions which are innovative oriented, either from product side, where we design PCBs and come up with programs, as well as also coming up with software applications to be able to use the same systems.
You've been one of the young entrepreneurs who has really been out there. You are named under the top 40 under 40, and you began your business with just 30,000 shillings. How was it?
Basically, for you to be able to start a business in Kenya, it's not something that's easy, mostly for the young entrepreneurs. This is simply because for you to be able to come up with a business, you first must need a business plan on the dimensions and the parameters of how you're going to run your business, whether is it a white-collar business form of, or whether it's just basically a casual form of business.
We've seen a number of young entrepreneurs start up their own businesses, especially in the tech front. And unfortunately, some of them end up being ripped off, maybe by the big companies. They come, they steal your idea. Tell us, how did you manage to register your innovations, and what steps did you have to take?
Basically, for any form of innovation, it's very important for someone to be able to register and to be able to get the sole proprietorship rights, being as the person is recognized to have formulated the idea, and also owning either whether it's the design part of it, whether it's the actual product design, whether it's the mechanism of coming up with the product. So it's very important when you come up with an innovation, you need to look for the different ventures for you to be able to bring out your innovation, register it, and then now from that point, it be now easy for you to be able to make it start operating.
I know a lot of young people who are watching would really want to know, what are the steps? I have my innovation now, and I have to register it. Where do I go to? What steps should I follow?
Basically, the first thing that you come in innovation, it's very important for you to first understand, is it a feasible idea? Is it something that is practical or something that can be put into paper, Not just merely an idea that you just have in your mind. So you need to come up with a tangible idea or tangible service or product that can be able to apply the different criteria for it to be registered under IP. So with the IP provisions, there are different avenues for you to be able to get your IP rights, whether is it KIPI, whether it's Copyright Board of Kenya. So it depends with kind of venture that you're in, whether in music, whether in arts, or whether in designing of hardwares or tangible products, which can be able to be like basically something that can be able to be touched and it can be felt. So with the registering of IP, first and foremost, it's very important for young guys or any person who has an idea to approach the legal department. This is simply because there's need for young people to be able to know what are the exact steps, what are the procedures that they should be in place, and probably if there's anything that may be hindered, that may hinder the process of registering. So it's important for them to have the power of attorney. So with the for example, once you have approached the power of attorney from any law firm, there's those specific lawyers who deal with IP registering and protection. So with the same, they'll advise you accordingly. First and foremost, you need to approach KIPI. You need to do an application, of which they'll need first to assess your idea. Then after assessing the idea, they'll also do a counter check, just to prove that you're not giving an idea that's already existing or someone's idea. So they'll need to counter check from their data and records just to find out if the actual idea is something that's novel, something that's new, or something that's self-oriented to this specific person who is doing the application.
And how much does it cost to have your innovation registered?
Basically, it depends on the different power of attorney's charges. Of course, they differ from one application to the next, simply because there are different stages of applying for an IP. It's not necessarily like just a single step, as in you just do the application and that's it. Because, for example, the first step that, of course, you do first the application, then you might find that your idea is not fully developed, so you need time to develop it, and as a matter of fact, you need first to protect it since it's going to be in the public domain. So you need to have the what called the provisional specification of the IP rights. That will just specify as in what your idea is, what is the step that you've already patented for, and also it will also cater for the time frame of either 6 months or 1 year for you to be able to do a progressive application on the same.
And also looking at the whole registration process, why is it important? Because someone watching would be like, is it a must for me to do all this? What is the benefit in terms of, can I protect my work and be able to get maximum value out of it?
Basically, as a matter of fact, we have seen different avenues whereby young guys, most of the techno products, the ideas are being taken by different people, individuals, as well as companies. So it's very important for the young guys or for the innovators to be able to protect and secure their ideas. This is simply because they need to prevent it from unscrupulous person to be able to go with the idea. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is when you come up with an idea, it's an avenue for you to be able to form a form of revenue out of that. So it's very important for you to be able to have the IP rights, for you to be able to enjoy the such kind of output after the idea is already patented.
I'm meant to understand that once you have your work protected, be it a trademark, be it a patent, you are able to, in the event you want to sell maybe your company, you can actually make a huge return in terms of if you get someone who wants to fork in some good money for your business.
Basically, when you come up with an idea and it's something that's noble and you've already patented it, it comes at a time whereby there's need for either selling the shares, the rights shares, or fully selling the whole idea, selling the whole IP rights, or transferring their IP rights from you personally to the next party. And of course, it's something that has helped different individuals to be able to rise from where they are, because it entails a lot of good returns when you do sell their rights. After that, the idea is already something that's functioning well and it's fully developed.
I know you interact quite a lot with many young entrepreneurs in the ICT space. What is the situation like? Are we seeing young people going to register their innovations? What is the situation like?
Basically, the situation is worsened. So this is simply because there are a lot of bureaucracy. When you come to register an idea, there's a lot of bureaucracy in Kenya. So that means that the young guys, they find it time-consuming as well as also resource-consuming. Therefore, it takes a lot of time for them to register. So at the end of the day, you find that there's a good number of young guys who haven't registered for the IP rights and all that stuff. This is also a factor that you can also compare with the number of registered IP rights in Kenya, which is very low, very low.
Interesting, interesting insights. Well, thank you very much for making time to be with us, Calvin, and we wish you all the best in your innovation. And that brings us to the end of our Job Center edition, especially now that we are closing for the festive season. That's something you can ponder over in terms of how do you get your innovation registered, and also why is it necessary? Well, my name is Abi Agina. Coming up next is the day's business news. Good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. President Uhuru Kenyatta has directed the Ministry of Agriculture to open the National Cereals and Produce Board and buy maize from farmers in a bid to reduce the cost of maize flour. The directive comes hours after farmers in the North Rift gave the government a 24-hour ultimatum to open the National Grain Agency. Or face the music. The farmers in the North Rift want the government to buy each bag of maize for at least 3,000 shillings.
Hao wakulima wetu wa nchi hii yetu ya Kenya ambao ndio msingi wa uchumi wetu. Na tunajua ya kwamba kwa muda sasa wale ambao wamekuwa wakinunua mahindi wananunua mahindi kwa bei ya chini kabisa, na wakulima wetu wamekuwa wakiumia. Kwa hivyo leo imeamrisha wale wa National Cereals and Produce Board wafungue magala yao na waanze kununua mahindi kutoka wakulima wetu.
And now to some technology news. The barren landscape, which has been the bane of the Konza technopolis dream 2 years after its launch, could soon disappear. The government is once again trying to restart the fire with plans to roll out basic infrastructure such as roads and electricity at the flagship Vision 2030 project. But will the dream actually take off this time? Well, Philip Keitani has more.
In 2012, President Kibaki broke the ground on a project that was meant to transform Kenya into a Silicon Valley. 2 years later, little if any progress has been achieved on the 1.2 trillion shillings Konza project, dousing the rousing optimism that stakeholders and potential investors had in a project that slowly turned into a white elephant. But now the government is breathing new life into the project. The state is accelerating the rollout of phase 1 of the plan, with plans to construct 4.2 kilometers of access road.
Our commitment is solid on developing this Konza technopolis.
According to the Konza Technopolis Development Authority, the project currently has access to electricity and a steady water supply, thanks to the 7 boreholes already in place. And with the road construction starting and the connection of 3 fiber optics to the site, the state says phase 1 is officially 12 months ahead of schedule and will be completed by 2018.
I instruct the Cabinet and the Principal Secretaries for Treasury and Communication to work together and the board to solve some of the budgetary constraints that exist in the way of this project.
The project is expected to create 17,000 jobs for locals by 2017 and contribute 10 billion shillings in revenues to the country by 2018. So far, 300 investors have shown interest in the project and are expected to invest a whopping $100 billion at the site.
Na sisi tunataka counties wafanye kazi. County ya Machakos, county ya hapa Makueni, county ya Kajiado wafanye kazi kwa kushirikiana.
The Silicon Valley is expected to put Kenya on the map as a global destination of choice for technology innovators. The official launch of the basic infrastructure project for the Konza Technopolis city now gives hope to the residents of Makueni County that the project is officially on, but only time will tell if the government has enough money to sustain the project. Philip Payton, KTN.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on how that story develops. And now to some good news. The Energy Regulatory Commission has cut fuel prices by an average of 4 shillings and 46 cents per litre, handing consumers much-needed reprieve ahead of the festive season. Consumers in Nairobi will now pay 90 shillings and 85 cents per litre of diesel and 71 shillings and 37 cents for kerosene and 102 shillings for super petrol. The key driver for the reduced price has been the steep plunge in international crude oil prices, which have plummeted more than 50% in the last 6 months, from $115 a barrel in June to $58 a barrel on Friday. While this is good news for consumers, the prices are still far higher than the 70 to 80 shilling range seen in 2009, when the price of crude was at around the current levels. ERC said the weakening of the shilling against the dollar had curbed the Commission's ability to cut prices anymore. And now to some agricultural news. Agriculture is the backbone of the country's economy, accounting for more than 25% of the gross domestic product. Despite this, however, farmers are some of the poorest people, forced to sell their produce at throwaway prices to brokers who made fat profits by imposing a huge markup on the produce. It is this reality that motivated Murang'a County government to bridge the gap between avocado farmers and marketers to stop the exploitation and allow them to make decent returns from their crops. And today, 1,600 farmers from 37 avocado groups have a reason to smile after they received a 20 million shilling bonus from Kakuzi Limited. The farmers got 2 different payments, the first based on the quantity of the fruit delivered, and the second one is the share of Kakuzi's after-sale profits, which they gave out as bonus. Because the farmers are selling directly to the marketers, they are getting an average of 10 shillings for every fruit, a huge increase from the 2 shillings they would get.
But now there's a bonus. Now we are giving 90 shillings for every 4 kg carton for those who delivered between size 12 and 20.
Well, that's all we had for you on KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Coming up next is the sports news.
KTN Business in association with Safaricom.
Every time you use Lipa na M-Pesa, bank to M-Pesa, take or pay an M-Shwari loan, you stand a chance to win a furnished house worth 12 million shillings. There are 8 houses to be won in 8 weeks. Lipa na M-Pesa and win.
Welcome to KTN Sports. The Kenya Rugby Sevens KTR team arrived from South Africa, where they managed to finish on the 14th position after collecting only 7 points in the third round of the Sevens series. Kenya qualified to the bowl final, where they lost 24-5 to Canada in the Nelson Mandela Bay Sevens. The team had earlier beaten France 14-12 in the bowl semis. Team captain Andrew Monde is urging fans to be patient with the young lads as they try to find their winning formula that has evaded them in previous series. The Sevens team is now looking for a new coach following the resignation of their South African coach Paul True, who cited interference as the reason behind his stepping down.
This is a young team, a team that needs time to grow. The boys are ticking boxes, they're improving. You can see from every game they play, you can see a slight improvement expected of a new team. By the time they get to know whatever is supposed to be happening in the ground, when they can play consistently according to the game plan, you'll see much changes and you'll see greater players playing in this circuit.
Let's move on to football. And Football Kenya Federation branch officials have upheld an earlier decision to have the league expanded to 18 teams and want the Kenya Premier League to adopt the new changes. The members want the league renamed Football Kenya Federation League from next season. Clubs had up to Monday to register with the federation.
In the unlikely event that KBL fails to fully comply with the reference directives, we mandate Football Kenya Federation to retender the running of the league and open it for competitive bidding.
KPL ni watu ambao ni kama wale wageni ambao unawakaribisha kwako, okay? Unawapa nyumba labda wapange, alafu wanaleta ujuaji, wanataka wafanye nini? Watengeneze hiyo nyumba hata kabla mwenye nyumba hajaongea.
To boxing now, and boxing fraternity in the country had a difficult period this year, with promoters and the federation unable to improve the standards of the game. They hope that 2015 will be a fruitful year and are asking the government to step in and give them audience just as they do in disciplines like football and rugby.
The boxing fraternity want to take boxing back to where it was a couple of years ago. The sport has been left to individuals to sponsor it due to lack of proper structures to ensure the sport gets awareness and sponsorship. Football, rugby, athletics have been given an upper hand, with boxing, the darling of the country, left to the back burner.
I'm appealing to other leaders, sponsors, let us be serious with our sports. We should not concentrate with soccer or rugby only. Let us concentrate on all sports activities in our country.
The Boxing Federation and dubious promoters have been accused of killing the sport in the country. Boxing lovers organized a tournament over the weekend, hoping that 2015 will be a fruitful year for the boxing fraternity.
Athal Wall was the toss of the day as he guided the Dunkid Academy to a narrow 54-52 victory of Z-Tech Titans in the Basketball League playoffs at the Nyao National Stadium. The two rivals will lock horns again on Tuesday in the final game of the series.
Dunkind's determination to bag today's game was evident from the first whistle, as they made 14 points in the first 5 minutes of the game, forcing Titans coach to make early changes. The changes worked for Z-Tech, who cut the deficit to 15 points, leaving Dunkind with a 5-point lead at the first quarter. In the second quarter, Z-Tech could not hold to Dunkind's attack, as they trailed 35-34 at halftime. Athal Wall stepped up Dunkind's attack, making 7 points in the third quarter to water down the Titans to a 48-46 lead in the fourth quarter. Things kept getting worse for Z-Tech as Rual hit a 3-pointer in the dying minutes of the game to give his team a 54-52 win. Joshua Kisali made 10 points for Z-Tech.
It was a game of, mistakes here and there, and we came up top.
Tumekuwa na makosa ambayo imetuchukua muda mrefu sana kurekebisha.
Both teams will square out on Tuesday, with the winner qualifying for the final and could either take on KCA or Rumoja. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
Well, it's time to wind up the bulletin, but not before we remind you of our big question tonight. We did ask you whether you believe that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission should give more time to the ODM, to the Orange Democratic Movement, to sort out their mess in regards to the Homa Bay nominations. The results, as you can see them, are on your screen. 80% of you say no, while 20% of you say yes. Let's take some of your views here. Let's see. Let the bill pass the way it is, what the Constitution... okay, that's a very different one. Let's take one here from... wow, these things... There are so many tweets and SMSs coming in here. Kamau Durango here says, I'm sure ODM says it was disrupted by Jubilee malls. Collins Muzame here says, no, ODM shouldn't let everyone delay because of their own problems. Then they start blaming the IEBC. Paul Mwani here says, yes, but MPs should stop short of changing the list of delegates as if it belongs to them. Very interesting one there from Paul Mwani. Rose Kingori here says, no, it seems they are not ready to lead. More time won't make a difference. Still on your tweets here, Veronica Musao here says, no, it seems they are not ready to lead. That one I have read. Meshak Nyaundi says, yes, ODM is the big party and denying them a chance may lead to political pressure among the leaders. Veronica Musao says, ODM should go the Gatondo way and pick a candidate since the men in black are not leaving anytime soon. Thus, no primaries are going to be held. There are so many SMSs and tweets coming in thick and fast. Thank you very much for your participation on our BQ and throughout this bulletin. My name is Wilson Buru. Remember that Case Files comes up right after this bulletin. Is the story of Samuel Kamau Wanjiru. Was he pushed off the balcony of his house in Nyahururu, or did he, was it an accident? You will find out in Case Files coming up immediately after this bulletin. As from us on KTN Prime, a very good night to you. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Our sign language interpreter has been William Silla. Good night. See you tomorrow.